If it is or if it ain't, it's going to come out. Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is June the 23rd, 2023, and today the topic is Rebuked and Convicted. Oh, Rebuked and Convicted. Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Friday. I hope that you all had a thunderous Thursday. Mine was just fine. Man, you know what I did yesterday, man? I was working, worked a little bit over at the church. And then after that, next thing I know, it was time for NJ's class. And then, outside of that, that's pretty much the gist. I locked my guys away and went to sleep after NJ's class and was knocked out or whatever. Woke back up and answered all my missed calls and whatnot. And that's pretty much what my day looked like yesterday. A lot of other stuff too happened. Some meaningful conversations and whatnot as well. But, some of that ain't your business. But anywho, let's get into this conversation, y'all. Rebuked and convicted. I think everybody, every now and then, especially if you're a believer, you probably have felt this at some point. You may have felt rebuked, and you may have felt convicted. Sometimes we feel that from each other, right? We feel rebuked and convicted by one another, but I'm more so, I guess, dealing with being rebuked and convicted by the Lord. Listen, I share a lot on here. I let y'all know that I'm human all the time, and so I believe this morning with some of the things that was coming into my heart and mind, and when I looked them up, I don't know if it was a dream or whatever the case was, but looking up certain stuff, and I was feeling kind of convicted. I was feeling like, Lord, okay, I know there's areas that I can improve or do better, or things like that. So I might be stepping on my own toes this morning, right? But that's what the conversation and the inspiration came from this morning. So let's get into this conversation. I ended up looking up the definitions, obviously, of rebuked and conviction or convicted. The definition for rebuke says, express sharp disapproval or criticism of someone because of their behavior or actions. Okay. And then conviction, I looked up the definition of conviction, and it says a formal declaration that someone is guilty of a criminal offense made by the verdict of a jury or the decision of a judge in a court of law. So, just in case we didn't know what those words meant, that's what rebuke and conviction means. But I guess we can get into the juice and chit chat about what does this mean if you're getting rebuked and convicted by the Lord, right? As well as, I guess just some verses that were standing out to me this morning. For us to humble ourselves, at the end of the day, it's easy for us to point the finger at someone else and be like, oh, you this, you that, and rebuke and convict others, right? But on the flip side, like they say, when you point fingers at someone else, there's four more looking back at you, so at the end of the day, I guess we should be careful. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to be like, oh, Christians ain't allowed to judge people. I'm not saying none of that, because judgment is biblical, as well, but, every now and then, I don't know why this just came in my head, but I guess I'll say it. Basically, sometimes what we need is understanding, right? We don't always need the judgmental Christian, whatever the case is. Sometimes we need some understanding. And at the end of the day, since again, like I could say, we may have all felt this way one way or another, it should humble us to give again grace and mercy. It's something I constantly talk about on here that, it seems like we struggle with doing. We appreciate it again for us, but then we are hesitant to do it for others. But yeah. I mean, let's get into this conversation about being rebuked and convicted, y'all. So, one of the first things that stood out to me this morning is Romans 13:4, and I ended up going deeper, and I would suggest, I guess, taking a look at the entire Romans 13. But if I just focus on Romans 13:4, it says, "For he is God's servant for your good, but if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoers." So what stood out to me the most in that verse, y'all, is the part talking about but if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. That part stood out to me the most this morning. And I mean, I think, again, if you are convicted by the Lord, right, and you acknowledge it and you repent and you everything like that, you're in a good place, in my humble opinion, based on, again, Bible. But, if you are receiving conviction and being rebuked, again, by the Lord and things like that, again, I would say that you are in a good place. Because, again, there's a lot of reprobate minds out here, right? There's a lot of people that are, yes, being rebuked and convicted, and they don't care. Like they say, they don't give one flying flip about being convicted by the Lord, because they don't either believe in the Lord, or maybe they believe and they just don't care. I mean, who knows, and everything like that. So again, if you are receiving conviction and you're being rebuked and it's humbling you, right, to look at yourself in the mirror, which is another, I guess, moment that I had this morning of looking at myself and everything like that, then don't be discouraged, right? Don't beat yourself up and everything like that. At the end of the day, the Lord's just pointing out some things, just pointing out and letting you know that, hey, there's some areas for improvement and everything like that. And so, it's for refinement, as they say. It's for us to get a little better and everything. It's for our growth and maturity and all of that. And so, just something to keep in mind. So then we got Proverbs 25:26. It says, "Like a muddied spring or a polluted fountain is a righteous man who gives way before the wicked." Now that might be Pope and everything like that. I did go deeper and look up what gives way mean, just in case. You guys can do that on your own as well. But hey, I mean, this stood out to me. I mean, because it's talking about, if you give way to the wicked, right? Or maybe even if you give way to wicked things, or whatever the case is, as a righteous person, then you are no better than a muddy spring or a polluted fountain. So that's something to think about as well. Again, like when you are feeling convicted and things like that, or if you are being convicted and whatnot, just hopefully the springs are getting a little clearer and the water is getting a little clearer as well. I guess what I'm receiving is that's something that we don't want to do. Don't give way to the wicked. And I guess, Lord. Okay, so I mean, like I was saying earlier, I feel like, this is an ongoing thing, especially in the Christian community. And this is things that people, I guess, find fault in us about, because they're like, oh, y'all are this, that, and the other. Y'all are hypocrites, X, Y, and Z. It's a totally different thing, right, for a believer to point out something in a fellow believer and say, hey, I've been through it too. I'm noticing these things, brother or sister, and, X, Y, and Z. Rather than pointing the finger and being like, you're da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's a totally different experience for us to remember where we came from and humbly deal with people accordingly and things like that. So, I mean, every now and then, I ain't gonna lie, a strong rebuke is needed, right? But every now and then as well, sometimes people might need a little bit of grace and mercy, as we once did, right? So it's just another just way to reiterate this idea of, staying humble, y'all. Let's not get too high and mighty that we forget where we came from and that we needed grace and mercy and everything like that. And again, we've all had to go through, again, being rebuked and convicted about a thing or two, one way or another. So I mean, listen, again, maybe stepping on toes now, because how can I say this? I think without getting too deep into like the situation with me, I would just say that, like, again, there's just different ways. Like, I think I try my best to handle people with care and things like that, but at the same time, when I'm just confused, I be trying to get some understanding, right? And every now and then, you know, my trying to get understanding could be coming across as like, I don't know if it's joking or something. And it's like, it's not that I want to make fun of situations or anything. It's just that I'm just so confused sometimes. And so again, here I am saying that I'm human. Here I am saying that maybe, I haven't handled everything with care as I should, right? And so I'm just sharing my little humble testimony to hopefully encourage and inspire the next person that, again, we should just humble ourselves. Let's remember where we came from and handle people with care, man. But anywho, let's keep going. So then we got John 13:34. It says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you have one another just as I have loved," that you love one another just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. So, I mean, just reiterating that we are to love people the way that Christ loves us, and loved us enough to lay down his life for us and things of that nature. Again, I say this all the time, but here it is again. I don't think we fully understand this whole concept of laying down our lives and things like that. But maybe we should seek the Lord for the wisdom, right? In how to love people the way that we love, or he loves us. I know something that's been going on, and I guess I'm just going to say this to acknowledge it. I haven't really followed this story or anything like that enough to like really truly speak on it, but I've seen a lot of other people addressing it, and it's this whole thing that's going on with the submarine and the men that were lost and X, Y, and Z. And I know Brother Marcus, I watched a video of him talking about this yesterday, and basically he just was like, regardless of what's going on in the situation, he just was kind of like sad to see the response in regards to people joking about it and people, making light of it or poking fun or whatever the case is that people are saying and doing in reference to the men and everything like that. And so, again, these are just things to think about. Like, let's show love, let's show grace, let's show mercy to people X, Y, and Z. I mean, these people have families, and things like that. And so, we don't know what all is going on. And like I said, I don't know what all is going on enough to speak on it or whatever. I mean, I'm hearing different things, of course, but of course, like I said, let's keep in mind the families. Let's keep in mind, maybe someone lost their spouse, maybe someone lost their child, things like that. And so, just saying, just another thing to point this thing out. So, anywho, we got Ephesians 2:8-9. It says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." Let us all remember this, y'all. Like, at the end of the day, we made it by the skin of our teeth because of grace and mercy, not because we oh so great or oh so righteous or oh so good or anything like that. The Bible tells us the complete opposite. It says that our righteousness is filthy rags. It says that no man is good and all these different things. All have sinned and fallen short, right? So again, if we keep these things in our heart and mind, then perhaps that, again, we can handle each other with care. And if not, then, I mean, I guess you're going to start getting more rebuking and convicting if you are a believer, because this is what we're supposed to be doing, basically, at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the juice, y'all, this morning. I mean, I think the only verse I have left to share is the Bible verse of today. So we all can go deeper with this, man. There's plenty of verses in the go deeper section for y'all to peruse and let marinate on your hearts and souls and minds about this. There's also an article at godquestions.org, and it's talking about what does it mean to love like Jesus. I hope that we all check those things out today and everything like that. And Like I said, don't beat yourself up if you're rebuked and convicted. Look like yours truly, right? Just take it with grace and do your best to repent and try your best to do better. And I guess that's the juice this morning, y'all. That's the juice. Now listen, the Bible verse of today is Proverbs 22:6. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. Did you know that you can support us for just 99 cents a month? That's right, friends. You can support everything that we do here at GSL for just 99 cents a month. Take a look around wherever this post is. You might see a link or maybe even a button that says support. Go there, check out the options, consider supporting us because, we enjoy bringing you all the daily inspiration as well as the weekly talk show, but we have much, much more to come. Thank you so much for the consideration. Bye-bye.